Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. I guess it would be remiss of us not to talk about where the stock price is now. We just had the single largest increase in the stock price in one day. The stock price was already on a run, breaking past its all-time high. I expected it to continue and easily hit $1,000 this year, but I thought it might take one of the factories coming online to achieve that. Although the perceived value for many of us was much higher, it was probably going to require some event to take it past 1,000. Now, as you've been hearing me say all year, there won't be much happening with the stock for the first half or so, as there wasn't much on the cards to cause any jumps. But I did also always say, never sell, because you never know what could happen at any time with Tesla, such as a stock split announcement, or Hertz ordering 100,000 Teslas. Right, Hertz want 100,000 Teslas. The rumours are that it's a $4.2 billion deal, which means they're all standard range Model 3s, which would be the most likely model Hertz would order. Perhaps that's worth nearly $1.5 billion gross profit, yet the stock price increased well over $100 billion. Those numbers do not add up. How can something worth $1.5 billion add $100 billion onto your valuation? This was, at least for now, a one-time order from Hertz by the sounds of it. Sure, it's possible Hertz might add to the fleet over time, but it's still small income relative to $100 billion. But there are 100,000 more Teslas to rent. Apparently, the average car rental time is 12 days. That would mean that the average car is rented out 30 times a year, if it was rented full time. So if we say 25 times a year, including downtime and cleaning, then that's 2.5 million times Teslas are rented a year. Granted, some of these people are repeat customers and some own a Tesla already, but perhaps that is 2 million people a year being introduced to how amazing a Tesla is to drive. Hertz will also not have to be concerned with car maintenance anymore. No servicing, no engines breaking down, and cars off the road losing income. Nope, none of that with electric, or at least Teslas. Of course, a Tesla is less likely to be involved in a collision, again beneficial to a rental company. And of course, every customer doesn't have to worry about paying for fuel, although I wonder if they'll fine you for not bringing their cars back fully charged. Hertz wouldn't have to worry about offering the latest model Teslas, or about them getting too high a mileage, as the cars stay updated and can go for over 1 million miles. In other words, their inventory lasts an order of magnitude longer. If the cars are involved in any collision, then it'll be recorded by the car, and Hertz will know who is at fault or what happened to their cars. Hertz most likely still want to upsell insurance to their customers, as it's a highly profitable part of their rental car business. So perhaps they'll work in with Tesla Insurance some way within time. Perhaps Tesla will offer a rental car insurance policy. But what are Hertz's long-time goals here? An order like this is not a light decision. There must have been thorough research beforehand around an entire new business plan. What's the ultimate goal here? What are they doing? Well, they will now have the largest fleet of Teslas on the planet. They're fully aware that these cars will eventually become self-driving. So what will happen when robotaxis are launched? It would appear that Hertz will likely have the largest potential robotaxi fleet also, depending on whether Tesla want their own fleet or not. The thing is though, Hertz probably make more profit per day renting the car out than it would as a robotaxi. But perhaps when there are robotaxis, well, they might be competition for rental cars. For those of you who've ever rented a car, it's always a very painful experience, especially after you've been on a 10-hour flight and you're already so tired, you just want your car and get to your hotel. But for some reason, the rental car process is dreadful. So unnecessary, I can't believe it hasn't been disrupted already. Tesla may add some features to work with rental companies, so that you could book a rental car online and they can assign you a specific car, and you don't have to go through all that monotonous paperwork and queuing. Hey, perhaps the Tesla could even pick you up right from the airport as you summon it. But if there are robotaxis everywhere, why would you want to go through that painful and expensive process of renting a car in the first place? Well, if robotaxis disrupt the rental car industry, Hertz will now be in a position to transition to a robotaxi fleet management company. They have various locations in many cities around the world, with ample car parks for their inventory. They have the car cleaning services and everything set up already. A robotaxi management business would fit well within their business model. And perhaps this is part of it. They're hedging themselves as a company. For one, Hertz have themselves covered with electric cars, as it's possible an ICE fleet could depreciate heavily. The Teslas won't depreciate much anyway, or possibly appreciate. Hertz are covered for their own customers wanting electric cars. They're covered for autonomy. They're covered for robotaxis. So in my opinion, this was a great move by Hertz. Now, if the other rental companies think about following suit too, we could see a huge waiting list for Teslas. It is very obvious electric is the future. Sure, I didn't have to tell any of you that. I mean, that is now becoming apparent to the rest of the world, i.e. those outside of the Tesla community are also realizing how blatantly obvious the future will be electric. The order from Hertz gives more validation to an electric future. Car rental companies are the largest single purchasers of autos. Hertz making this move is surely going to motivate the other rental companies to at least consider this move to electric. And of course, there is no other company capable of making enough cars to cater for such orders, and likely no other company that wants to. Why would Volkswagen want to sell 100,000 ID3s and lose almost $500 million on a sale, even if they could make that many fast enough? This is just the start of it. These wholesale orders are going to keep coming, especially when we have the Cybertruck. How many police departments are going to order those? Or what about the army? But we have more commercial vehicles coming, like the semi-truck and the van. DHL or someone could make volume orders for the Tesla delivery vans. The market is getting more validation that the future is electric, which in turn will convince more people it's happening, and it's happening fast. Unfortunately, Tesla still can't make cars fast enough, but I bet they're trying. And if Tesla introduce a standard range Model Y from Texas and Berlin, then there'll be no battery constraints in production, as CATL have plenty of LFP batteries to go around. Instead, it might come down to the actual speed at which Tesla can get these production lines up and running. The order from Hertz is for the end of 2022, so I would say these will be coming from the Fremont factory. We're starting to believe Texas will be making Model 3s too, at some point, but no idea as to when. I would have thought Cybertruck would be a bigger priority anyway. If you look at the adoption curve for EVs, well, we're still well in the innovators segment. We haven't even reached the early adopters when you look at how few people still own a fully electric car. We've barely gotten started. I know a lot of people find that hard to believe, given that Tesla has nearly been in business for 2 decades, but that's just how long it can take to get an EV business started. Okay, perhaps not quite as long these days, but it still takes a long time to ramp up to volume production for anyone. No matter how much money you have or how much money you throw at it, there is only such a speed as to which you can make things happen. Of course, it's particularly hard too, when all the people who can help the most are already working for Tesla, and will likely never leave. Especially when their stock-based compensation is now possibly worth a fortune. Right, Tesla have been generous to their employees with stock incentives, except some of the stock is now up 10 to 100 times. Wouldn't that give you more incentive to stay working with the company that you have so much invested with? Anyway, the more I think about this, for Hertz is a great move, and makes a lot of sense in a lot of areas. As for Tesla, well, I'm not sure it'll even make that much difference, as this order in no way means Tesla can make cars any faster. Tesla have a supply issue, not a demand issue. This has just increased demand further, which simply means there are more customers waiting longer than before. Yet the market loved this news and overreacted in a big way. I think it just added further to the momentum of what is already happening with the stock price. I'm also now a little conflicted, as I wanted to get some leaps. I felt fine doing that when the stock price was in the low 900s to mid 900s, but it feels a bit more expensive now. I'm not going to say I expect a pullback or anything, because you never can tell, especially if Texas is about to open next month. If the stock price drops though, I will certainly be buying more leaps. Anyway, it was a very exciting day nonetheless, and just the start of more excitement to come. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.